Hello, teacher friends. Today we're going to be talking about learning intentions and success criteria. So here we go. So let's take a look at what the research says. Based on research, mastery of learning effects size is 1.29. which is cognitive task analysis where strategies emphasize learning intentions. And an effective size of 0.40 is typically associated with advancing learners' achievement by 1 year. So let's go up here and take a look at John Hattie's research. It's really simple actually, like where am I going? Those are the learning intentions. How am I going? That's the success criteria. And where to next would be the feedback. So why are we doing this? Well, it benefits our students. Children are more focused and interested in creating a positive learning culture, and their self-esteem improves. Success can now be achieved by everyone. We've given children the vocabulary to discuss their own work, and pupils are beginning to talk about how they are learning rather than what they are learning. So what is it? Well, it's kind of like this. Let's start at the top. Teaching and learning activities are designed to provide students with opportunities to meet the learning intention. And then let's just move to the left. Success criteria are directly related to the learning intention. And then self-assess in light of learning intention and the success criteria. The assessed task or activity matches the learning intention. And then there's the teacher questioning, which always keeps the learning intention in focus. And finally, there's feedback, which is based on learning intention and the success criteria. So basically, you have this cycle that just keeps repeating. All right, let's take a look over here at what learning intentions look like. So, what's the purpose of learning intentions? The learning intentions should relate to what the students will learn rather than what they do. Make sure that we have the end or the goal for each lesson cycle or each unit of work. Focus on what we're going to learn, not what we're going to do. The act actively engages students in the learning process. All right, so there's how to write them. Make the learning explicit to students. So learning intentions should be written in student-friendly language and understandable. Write the learning goals from the student's perspective, like we are learning to. This supports students in taking ownership over their learning. So let's go take a look at some examples. So learning intentions should focus on knowledge, skills, and understanding. On the left, you have muddled learning intentions, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And then in the middle is a clarified learning intention. I want you to kind of compare the two as we're looking at this. And the third part is the context. So you kind of get the idea of how to have very clear learning intentions. Okay, next, let's go to interaction. An easy lesson is how to make a paper airplane. I gave you the link here if you want to go to the website, but let's dive deeper into what was the learning intention. Here, there's a video that you could take a look at. So you could ask yourself, what was the activity? It's pretty clear, right? How to make a paper airplane. And then what was the learning intention? So, was it how to make a paper airplane? Or was it how to do what? What would be the learning intention? Think about it a little bit. put it into context. In fact, you could pause the video for a minute if you wanted to take a closer look. Alright, on the learning intentions side, the next thing we're going to look at is the process. So the process, let's look at turning in so that you know where your learners are at. And then set the scene. Why are we learning this? And then explain the situation or the context. You should link to what they already know and explain or clarify unfamiliar words and phrases. So you're kind of preloading the information. Let's go to step number 1. So again, the learning intentions are what students thought they were learning. This is a really cool study. Look at the first example, learning intention with context. So this is where they thought they were learning. This was the intention. This is what the teacher thought that she was teaching, to write instructions to make a sandwich. So what the students of that lesson thought that they were learning, that they would learn to make a sandwich, but the learning intention without context to write instructions, it just happens to be a sandwich. But what they're really learning is to write instructions. And in that case, what the students thought they were learning now would be, we would be learning to write instructions. So just like the paper airplane, were you really learning to make a paper airplane? Or were you learning about the instructions or following instructions? Think about that. When students know the learning intention, you can focus on the purpose of the activity. They know where to focus their efforts. They're more likely to stay on task and take responsibility for learning. Okay. We've talked enough about learning intentions, so now let's go way over there and talk about success criteria. So success criteria summarizes the key steps in the ingredients the student needs in order to fulfill the learning intention. Like the main things to do, to include, or focus on. Well, what is it? Success criteria describes, in specific terms and in language meaningful to students, what successful attainment of the learning intentions looks like. Success criteria helps students understand what to look for during the learning. Quality success criteria makes the learning explicit and transparent for students and teachers alike. So they identify the significant aspects of student performance that are assessed and/or evaluated in relation to expectations. Well, why do we write them? We write them because of this. How do we know we have met the learning intention? When success criteria is used, the learning becomes more explicit. Students can conform, consolidate, and integrate new knowledge. Future learning is scaffolded, and students can see what quality looks like. This encourages independent learning, and it enables accurate feedback. All right, let's dive into success criteria. Effective success criteria needs to be linked to the learning intention. These are specific to the activity. It is discussed and agreed with students prior to the undertaking of the activity. Differentiated and scaffolded, provided to allow students to achieve their best, and are used as the basis for feedback and peer self-assessment. Alright, so we've looked at success criteria. Now let's hop back in and look at some examples of learning intentions. Alright, here's an example learning intention. We're learning to write a narrative. So So the activity is that we're going to write a ghost story. Now, success criteria will be like this. I will be successful if I... And then you set the scene in the opening paragraph, right? If I build up the tension and suspense. I will be successful if I use spooky adjectives and powerful verbs. I would be successful if I end the story with a cliffhanger. So students provide evidence of the criteria, not just that the activity had been completed. So here's what success criteria is not. It's not the completion of the activity, and it's not a checklist for the lesson. But what it is it's explicit to the learning intention. It can be differentiated. Students producing quality over quantity. It assesses students' achievements, and it's a temperature check on how their learning is going, and it's learner-friendly. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is differentiating the success criteria. Okay, take a look at this now. You have a couple of things here important to know. You need to know and could know. So let's look at what's in the top box. It says I can identify and describe prime, composite, square, and triangular numbers. All right, that's what I need to know. I can build patterns and order prime, composite, square, and triangular numbers. So basically, I can build those. But what you could know, I can investigate and use square roots of perfect squares. So you can kind of see the learning intention and the success criterias. So let's move on to the activity. So for you, your learning area activity would be to move into your learning areas. So whatever your subject is, or whatever you're teaching, move into your learning area, right? Choose a unit of work for each group that you'll be teaching this term or semester or whatever. Choose an achievement standard from a unit of work to unpack, and then write up learning intentions and success criteria for that unit. All right, this was about as quick as I could make it to just give you a brief overview of what were learning intentions and what were success criteria. I really wish you great success with all of this. Hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.